Recently, I had an opportunity to talk with a gentleman by the name of Josh. He's 24 years old, and he's been listening to my podcast content since he was 15 years old. Now, he has not been listening over the past 5 years, and you're going to understand why in this episode, because I'm going to share with you a conversation that I recently had with Josh. Now, if you have not yet listened to episode 772, the episode right before this one, let me share with you what's going on here. I have been doing live streams on the internet. I am using Ecamm Live to stream out to Facebook, LinkedIn, and also my YouTube channel. And there's a little text on the screen that says, "How may I serve you? Join me." Head over to cliffravenscraft.com/join. And if you go there, what you'll see is a button where you can join me via a live Zoom call. And with Ecamm, I have the ability to take anybody who's signed in to the Zoom call. I can drag and drop their video up onto my screen that I'm streaming out and engage with them, have a live conversation. And the idea here is ask me anything. How may I serve you? And it could be any topic. It could be personally, professionally, spiritually, relationally, in any way. How can I be of service to you? And one of the things that I know is that when I'm of service to you, there are always going to be people out there either watching live or watching the replay of that stream, and or if I take a segment from that stream, such as what I'm doing today with my conversation with Josh, if it goes into a podcast episode, my serving you, my helping you will in turn help others. And I absolutely love this format. I've been doing this for many years, really started it primarily through the whole Clubhouse days back in the pandemic, got into a new way of doing it using the Ecamm Live and the live streaming in a very intentional way. Just before I went on vacation, I've been gone for 2 weeks in the Smoky Mountains with my family, and now I'm back and I'm ready to engage. And so this, what you are about ready to hear, was recorded on Wednesday, July 16th, which was yesterday, 2025. And I ended up doing a 2-hour live stream yesterday. And there were 3 different conversations I had. And this is the one conversation that I felt like, I think this should be a podcast episode. If you've ever asked yourself, how can I stop from getting stuck in life? If you ever had a big vision of where you want to go in life, what you want to achieve, some dream you want to turn into a reality, and yet while you're currently in the process of trusting and having faith that the next steps will show themselves, you're currently in your day-to-day life doing the things you know you need to get done, right? And occasionally there are these projects that you're invited to invest your time, effort, and energy into, either invited by others or invited by your subconscious mind to get involved in, only to discover sometimes many months down the road, and for some people it's years or even decades, they get to a place where they wake up from the hypnotic rhythm for whatever reason, and it could be intentional if you chose for it to be intentional. But for whatever reason, they wake up from their hypnotic rhythm. They say, what the heck am I doing? And is this aligned with where I actually want to go in life long term? And when the answer is no, they feel stuck. Or if they actually look back and say, oh my gosh, have I been doing the wrong thing all along? Anyway, it's a fascinating topic, and this is the heart of my conversation with Josh Blackman. And I'm going to just give you the entire conversation that we had, and I'm not going to put anything at the end of this episode. I do want to say this, though. I'm doing a lot of this live stuff right now. Ask me anything. This is an opportunity for you, if you desire, to have a conversation with me at no cost, no expectation, no obligation, anything, if you're willing to show up in a live format, such as my live streaming platform, and the potential, no promise, but potential that our conversation could make it even into a podcast episode somewhere, if you're open to that, get in touch with me. Email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and we can schedule a time for you and I to chat online. And for those of you who are hearing some of these conversations that I'm doing and you're like, oh man, I would love to talk to Cliff. Just the way he sees things, the way that he unlocks a different perspective, a different perception, I could really benefit from that. But you don't want to have it publicly? Well, I do have paid coaching available, and you could always email me at cliff@cliffravenscraft.com as well. All right, without any further ado, here is my conversation with Josh. I hope that you find this valuable. And at the end of the episode, if you want to just send me an email, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and let me know that you enjoyed it, I'd love to hear that. Many blessings, and here's that conversation now. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I have never been better. It gets better every single minute of the day. Thank you for joining me. Did you hear about this because of an email that I sent, or did you just happen to stumble across the live stream?
Yeah, I found you because of the email you sent out yesterday.
Sweet. I'm glad to hear that the email was effective, and that even though I didn't send out a bunch of reminders today and all this other stuff, that it seemed important enough that you would be willing to put it on your calendar and make a point to join me. How can I be of service to you today?
Yeah. So I'm one of your super old podcast subscribers. I started listening to you when I was 15 or 16 years old. Way back. I'm 24 now, just turned 24. Yeah, it was way back in the initial couple years before you started the Dream conference, and I was I'm really into entrepreneurship, and I was still in high school back then too. So it's I just kind of wanted to hop on and let you know you were a foundational piece in my mindset and belief systems throughout high school, and then kind of up to where I'm at today, where I run my own business, and then also I'm working for a startup company as well. So it's been pretty cool to see where God has led me and how he's just guided me and put people like you in my life as I was growing up.
I love that. Well, first of all, I'm honored that at an impressionable age of 15 that I was out there speaking encouragement to you back then, to know that I was a part of your journey. And man, to think that you've gone in and launched your business. Tell me a little bit about your business. What kind of work are you doing?
The company I work for builds trading bots that trade in the stock market. We trade Forex, and we build the bots, build the strategies, and we trade prop firms. I'm the customer success manager of that company. And then with my own business, I have my whole trading setup as well, where I'm doing what's called prop farming. So it's kind of I have two separate streams of income at this point, and yeah, God is good. So it's been really fun to be on this journey.
That is awesome. Well, let me ask you this. Is there anything going on where I could support you in any way?
I think the thing that kind of has come up recently is kind of just having I do have long-term goals and that sort of mindset as well. But then also when it comes to day-to-day life, I have short-term goals as well. So let's say long-term goals are I want to get married and start a family. And that's kind of the higher up goals. I know I'm headed that direction, and I'm kind of prepping right now to put myself in a good position for that. But then just business wise and stuff, where I kind of struggle with is I don't know where I'm going to be at. I didn't expect to be in this position at 24, where I have my own businesses and stuff, and then I kind of just have the freedom of working from home and that sort of thing. So I guess my kind of all that wrapped together is how do I keep focused on those long-term goals, but also just kind of allow the Lord to work in my life, and then also not get too stuck in different positions as I move forward in life. How do I still have that open mind, but also still be focused enough and still be successful in everything that I'm doing?
Okay. So what I hear is that you have some long-term big vision goals that you feel are at some point into the future, but you also have your short-term goals, your day-to-day things, the focus that you need to have. And what I'm
Mhm.
hearing is, how do I stay open to my long-term vision of the future, but still stay focused on what needs to be done today and kind of trust the details are going to work themselves out? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think that's a much clearer way of putting it than I just said.
Oh, that's okay. Let me just
Yeah.
explain the reason why it was easy for me to communicate it clearly is I've had this conversation countless times with lots of other people. So what you just spoke is a pattern that I've seen many times that people
Mhm.
come to me for. So you said, how do I keep from being stuck? Has there been a part in your journey where being stuck has been an issue at this point?
Um, I'm I think I'm really good at making my, whether it's like yearly goals. I just turned 24 a few days ago, so it's like it kind of felt a reset right there. It's kind of nice having a July birthday
Yeah.
because I got January for the like yearly goals, and then I got like a fresh reset mid-year. So like my goals at the beginning of the year were I hired a personal trainer. I lost 15 pounds this year and gained a bunch of muscle as well in that process. So I'm like fitness wise, I'm in the best shape I've been in my life and just diet as well. So that's been a huge blessing. And then like business wise, I feel like I'm at a really good spot right now, but stuff is kind of just snowballing where I'm still scaling up my business. And then, yeah. So what was your
So
question
yeah,
again?
no worries at all. My
Yeah.
question is you said, how do I keep from being stuck? And so my question is, have you had an experience where you felt stuck up to this point?
Um, I think I guess my concern would be is I get involved in different projects or whatever, and then I'm like I move on like maybe 6 months, a year down the line, and then I'm like, oh, is this aligning with my long-term goals? It could be financial wise. It's like my goal, my like true goal and desire is to be able to stay at home with my future wife and family and help raise my kids and stuff. So it's like I just want to make sure the stuff I'm doing now is headed in that same direction.
Hearing everything that you just shared, as I think about it in context of the question, it sounds to me like, as it relates to have you had an experience of feeling stuck? I've heard you say that maybe you get involved in a project, something comes up, you get inspired to be a participant in some sort of project. You get about 6 months into it and you realize, wait a second, I'm not sure this is quite aligned with my overall vision of the future. And maybe I need to disengage from this project. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's like you kind of work on this and really passionate on it for a while, and then it's like, okay, is that this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, is this
Mm.
actually helping my long-term goals? Yeah.
Okay, well, there's an interesting phrase right there. Is
Hmm.
this something I'm supposed to be doing? Do you think that in any area of your life that there's some plan, some owner's manual to your life and or business pursuit that somehow nobody gave you, but somewhere there are instructions. These are the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Do you feel like that exists somewhere in the world, that there is some sort of list of the things that you should be doing?
Um, I mean, I think as long as we're like going to the Lord in prayer and asking Him for guidance to help us make those decisions, I don't think there is one thing that He has for us. I don't think we have to find one thing that like He knows what we're like what we're going to be doing in 10 years, but I don't think we have to find that exact thing.
Yeah. when you find yourself getting to a place where you're 6 months into a project that you're not quite sure that it's aligned, but then you start asking yourself, oh my gosh, is this the thing that I should be doing? Or, as I evaluate, is this the past few months, have I been, another way of phrasing that question could be, have I been doing the wrong thing? Have I been, and I'm going to tell you right now, the idea of being stuck, the feeling of being stuck is actually a byproduct of asking that kind of question. When you take the question, is there something that I should be doing, or are there a list of things I should not be doing? And then you come to the realization there is no such thing as any of those lists. There is no one thing, one direction, one path. As long as I seek first the kingdom of God, and I love the Lord my God with all my heart, and I love others as myself, and I'm seeking and open to the guidance of an inspiration from the Spirit within, then everything is open to me. There's no one thing. It's like everything is permissible. Not everything is beneficial, but everything is permissible. There's an endless number of things that I could be doing. So one of the things that you could do, because I'm going to go back to your original question, what could I do to keep from getting stuck? And by the way, you're never stuck. That's the interesting thing. I love how this ties in. This just came to me. You said you get 2 fresh starts each year because you're blessed to have a July birthday.
Yeah.
What if I told you that you don't have to wait until, as you know, you don't have to wait until the beginning of the next year. You could halfway through the year choose to have another fresh start. But you could also understand that you could have a fresh start at the beginning of every month. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I don't think it's as big of a milestone. Like, I mean, yeah, you get it. You do, but
well, let me ask. Let's dig into that for just a moment, Josh. Okay. So, why is it less of a milestone to have a fresh start at the beginning of each month compared to once or twice a year?
I think because it's less frequent, like once or twice a year, so it feels a little bit different. It's a little more rare.
It's interesting to me that you talk about the idea that sometimes I get committed, I commit myself to a project, and I get 6 months in and I begin evaluating. And it's interesting that it's 6 months, and it happens to be that you give yourself the idea of a fresh start 2 times a year, which happens to be approximately 6 months apart from each other.
Oh. Wow.
What if you could, at the beginning of each month, evaluate the projects that I'm currently committed to and ask, is this aligned? Do you see how it could be potentially? I'm not saying it is. All we're doing here is playing with the way that you're thinking and perceiving your life and business and how things are. All I'm doing is playing with the way that you're thinking about things. That's all I'm doing. I'm not saying that anything that I'm saying is right. It's just like, how malleable are your beliefs and perceptions about your life and business and what getting stuck means? So do you see how you could potentially benefit maybe once a month, each month, and say, let me evaluate each of the big projects or even the medium projects or all of my projects and do an evaluation real quickly, gut check. Is this aligned? Does this align with my overall values, my vision and goals of the future long term? So let me ask you again. Do you think that one could potentially have a fresh start 12 months out of the year?
I think that would be possible, yeah.
Now that I've got you there, do you think it's possible that one could have a fresh start every Monday?
Yeah, I mean, following the same line of thinking.
So now we're up to 52 potential opportunities to reflect on what am I currently committed to project-wise and asking if it's aligned. Wow, now I have 52 opportunities to ask that question. And then, of course, what if I told you that potentially, if you wanted to, you could have a fresh start every day? 365 days of the year, you could start the day each morning asking, what I'm currently committed to in my life, is this aligned? And then this gets really insane. But what if I told you you could have a fresh start every hour?
Whoa.
Exactly. So now if you think about that, if you buy into the idea that I could have a fresh start, not just twice a year, but once a month, once a week, every week, 52 weeks out of the year, once a day, 360, once an hour, once a minute, and then second by second. Do you see that if you actually saw the opportunity of having a fresh start anytime you want, you'll never have to worry about being stuck?
Yeah, I do see that. Like you're like even when you're talking about like I mean just like day-to-day activities, it's like does this align with my long-term goals or I mean really the ultimate goal too of becoming more like Christ over the course of your life. So just kind of always pushing everything to that more long-term perspective. That's that's really powerful. Wow.
There's a scripture, I think, hold on, let me, because I have the plaque up here. Hold on one second. Proverbs 29:18. There's a wooden plaque up here. One of my mentors, I know you've heard me talk about him. He recently passed a couple years ago. Those orange books down there are all 48 Days to the Work You Love by Dan Miller.
Oh, Dan Miller.
Yeah, so he sent me a gift, and it's this hand-carved wooden plaque that says, "Without vision, the people perish." There are a couple of different interpretations that come to my mind as I hear that. But one of them is without some idea of the destination of where you're going ultimately, the people, end up kind of just, it's like there's not a lot of life in the activities and actions that they're doing. And what I mean by that is we could get caught up in a hypnotic rhythm. One of the things that is very clear, I loved the enthusiasm I heard in your voice when you said, one of the things I love about having a July birthday is that I get 2 fresh starts a year. And so you recognize the value of a fresh start to evaluate, what am I doing? If we don't take fresh starts into an account, then what we do is we end up having commitments. Like you said, I'll get involved in a commitment. But then I'll be several months in, you said 6 months in, and then all of a sudden I'm actually questioning myself. Does this even align with my overall vision of the future? What I'm getting at is the fact is that you're going through, once you start a commitment and you start daily doing these things and it becomes a habit and a routine and a pattern for you, eventually these things become autopilot. I'll give you a perfect example of this. One of my one-on-one coaching clients, and when he started working with me, I said, hey, what would you say is your number one biggest challenge that you face? Personally, professionally, spiritually, relationally, any area of your life. He goes, time. I'm like, well, that's interesting, because as far as I know, time is the one equal thing. Every single person on this planet has the exact amount, the same amount. That we all have the exact same amount of resources when it comes to time. He goes, not me. I'm like, tell me more. So you don't have 24 hours a day. Sure enough, we had a conversation. It turns out he did have 24 hours a day. But what he didn't know was where all of that time was going. So I began to ask him to give me an account of where his time is going. He says, Cliff, I don't even know. It's just like it just gets away from me. So the scenario is that he's not taken any fresh start approaches to evaluate what are the projects. He was in what we call hypnotic rhythm. He was in a altered state of consciousness called hypnosis. When we're sometimes driving in a car and we just have driven so much. You're 24 years old. You've been driving on the road for quite some time now, I assume. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
And have you ever driven the same way home every single day, and then one day as you're driving home, you pull into the driveway and you realize, I don't remember driving here.
Yeah, that's definitely happened.
Exactly. And the reason why is because you do it every day. It's just a repeated pattern. Your nervous system, your subconscious mind, it's got it. This is just who I am. This is what I do. This is the way I drive. I know which lanes to switch in. I know what to be on the lookout for. I got this. Don't worry about it. And you go on thinking about your other activities. Think about other commitments you might want to spin up. But never do we actually say, you know what, let's pull back and stop. Let's change things up. See, the thing is I'd encourage you the next time you drive home, because do you leave to go to the startup job, or do you still work from home for that?
Yeah, I work from home.
Okay.
For all my jobs, but I go to the gym.
How often do you go to the gym?
More recently, it's been about 3 days a week.
3 days a week. When was the last time you took a different way home or a different way to the gym?
Maybe a month or so ago.
Yeah. So what's interesting is because you take the same way to the gym and you take the same way home, it's a part of a hypnotic rhythm, which gives you the ability for your mind to be open to all sorts of new creative ideas that you could invest in, new projects to start. The interesting thing that I would encourage you to try sometime, go and find an alternative route home from the gym or to the gym, either one, but choose a route you've never taken before. So look at your map. Maybe it adds an extra 20 minutes. Just do it one time, but take roads you've never taken before. And watch how you are more focused on the road because you don't know where your next turn is. You don't know this. You're pulling yourself out of the known. But because it's a part of the known, you just don't question anything. So let me go back to this example of this client that I was working with who had no time and wasn't even aware of where all of his time was. This guy, he was on the board of advisors for 5 different organizations, voluntary. He gets nothing financially from participating. It's just that there was this one board, they really needed help. He had the value, he knew it. It was a heartstrung thing. He decided, this is a project I really feel committing. I feel like I definitely have the free time. I could commit to this. It's, sure, it's only twice a month. Let me commit to that. And he started doing that. And then he did it for the first year, and then they asked him to renew for a second year, and he did it a second year. And by the way, during that second year, somebody else said, oh man, it's such amazing what you've done on the board and how you've helped that organization. Would you be willing to help my organization? So he starts volunteering for another one because it could fit. He doesn't even think about dropping the first position when his next renewal comes or when the next elections come up. No, I can't imagine anybody else being the president. I've done it, and it's such an easy thing for me to do. I'm the logical best person for the scenario. And next thing you know, now all of a sudden, it's about 15 hours a month minimum that are actually devoted to other people's organizations, leadership roles, and it has nothing to say about the amount of the relationship management of all of the other things that are involved outside of the meetings. And this was just one area of his life where he was overcommitted. Now, the thing is, he felt stuck. But the one thing he never did was at the end of every year where they voted for new people, he never once considered saying, you know what, I'm going to step out of this position. Somebody else needs to fill it for me.
Yeah.
And he's never asked himself, he's like, okay, what is my overall vision? What is my goal? What do I want? I want to be at home every night for dinner with the family. Oh, okay, great. Well, what's keeping you from that? Well, I've got this meeting. And it's like, okay, so it's not aligned. But if one had a fresh start, one could start, once a year evaluating or twice a year evaluating or once a month or even weekly or daily evaluating what are the things that I'm committed to doing. And so if there's anything, I would encourage you to understand that every day you could ask yourself, what am I currently committed to in my life and or business? And are they aligned? What am I doing that I'm not even realizing I'm doing? So I want to share one other story with you, Josh. I was working with a client of mine, and I told her that I was doing an evaluation. I was starting to journal throughout my day some of the things that I'm doing and the time that I'm spending on it. And she told me about this app called Time Tracker or something like that. It was this insane app that I could put on my phone, and I could literally create a little start and stop timer for every activity in my life. And I made a decision to go in and track every little tiny, it was obsessive compulsive, but I tracked everything. And at the end of the month, I actually saw the number of hours that I spent doing each of these different things. And I'm like, that's insane. And it wasn't until I saw it that it became quite evident that so much of that was not aligned with my own values, my vision of the future, and how I want to live my life. So there are a couple of things that come to me. Number one, recognize that it's good to have specific times where you will say, I want a fresh start, I want to evaluate. I would encourage you to do that more than twice a year. How frequently you do it, completely up to you. But to set up a standard, routine, regular, frequent schedule of saying fresh start, evaluation time, what are my current commitments? What are the activities and actions and commitments and projects that I'm invested in? And when was the last time? And now is now a good time for me to evaluate, is this still aligned? And then one other thought that comes to my mind for you, Josh, is this. You had briefly mentioned the fact that I have this idea, big picture of what my goals are. I want to be married. I want to work from home. I want to be in a position where I can help raise the children. These are my values. This is my vision. I don't know how all that's going to play out. And how do I get from here to there is one question. You didn't say that question, but it's an obvious question that comes from that. One of the things that it's very clear is that you trust that that's going to happen. But the question that came out is, how do I stop from getting stuck into something that postpones some of those things? When I left my career in insurance to go full-time self-employed, I had a overall vision of what I wanted. I wanted to work from home. I wanted to actually choose each day what I did with the hours of my day. One of the things that was a real struggle for me was the number of people who were reaching out to me for encouragement via email every single day, and I had the opportunity to be of support and encouragement. And I was working in a family-run insurance agency owned by my parents, and for 8 hours a day, I'm supposed to be working on insurance-related stuff, and I wanted to devote 3 or 4 hours of my most alert, focused energy on responding to people's emails that made a meaningful impact and difference in people's lives. And then oftentimes, several of those emails, it's like, man, I'm getting the same questions over and over again. I'd like to create some content and record an episode, outline an episode, record and publish an episode. I'd like to be able to do that. Of course, I still want to earn money and I want to have products and services that'll do that. But it became very clear that being an insurance agent was a commitment or a project, if you will, a day job as an insurance agent was not aligned with the vision of what I wanted for my life. So I had this vision. I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to choose who I work with, where I invest my hours each day. And I also wanted a specific amount of income to provide for my family and the needs and to be able to be generous to others. What I didn't have is all of the pieces of the puzzle figured out. And I began to work the plan as it became available. And I just started to say, okay, what could I do now to help me get there? And as you say, projects come up and I start investing in them or committing myself to them. And the interesting thing is the number of projects where I invested, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, sometimes 2.5 years, sometimes 5 years doing something. And then all of a sudden, the life that was in it when I first committed was no longer there. And whenever that happened, there was a temptation in the early days to say, have I been wasting my time doing this thing? Because at the end, it was no longer aligned. Nothing was ever wasted. Everything I've ever committed to, I have always picked up valuable skills and experience, expertise, and or the most valuable things, I learned a lot about me through the process. I've grown and evolved based upon, it's like, wow, why did I commit to that? Why was I so easily agreeable to volunteer for this particular opportunity when clearly now it doesn't make a lot of sense? And then I'm like, it's like, oh, I see what it was. I was afraid of how other people would perceive me if I said no. And that's why I said yes. And when I said yes, I really liked how people praised me. It was through those processes, and I had to have that happen a number of times to realize that if I'm concerned about how people will perceive me, and if I live for the praise of others, my life, my time, my effort, my energy can easily be controlled by the desires of others. I had to actually go through all of that to learn that about me. And so while that may not be a marketable skill that I'm going to use later, it certainly helps me be more discerning when I'm starting down with each of my fresh starts about what do I want to commit to next.
So basically, at that point, when you get to the end of it, you're, instead of like looking back and being like, oh, I wouldn't have done that again, you're looking at the lesson or what you learned out of it.
Yeah, one of the things that has been so valuable for me, Josh, is to stop feeling any kind of guilt or shame about anything that I did in the past that I wouldn't do today. Because no amount of negative feelings is going to change the fact that I did those things. So the question I have is, what is there for me to learn from it? What can I gain from it? What can I carry from it that will benefit my overall vision of the future, or how I desire to be in the world today? And you'll find that there's always things for you to learn and grow from. And the greatest thing is eventually you will commit to less and less projects that are not aligned. You won't be foolproof. There's likely still going to be a couple of opportunities that come down the road and stuff like that. And I don't think I will be swayed by somebody's praise or, lavish, where they say, oh, Cliff, you're the greatest and we could think of nobody else better than you. And just imagine how this is going to, all the people that you'll be introduced to who will learn about you. And this is going to be a part of your legacy. I mean, I'm not influenced by that at all anymore. And I'm also no longer influenced in my decision-making based upon how will they perceive me if I simply tell them no. I'm not concerned about that. But I can tell you that I still may have a couple of things inside that I'm not currently consciously aware of that are some limiting beliefs that could get triggered by an opportunity that I will agree to and stuff like that. But the great news is I don't have to wait an entire year for me to evaluate, is this still something I want to do? I don't have to wait 6 months. I don't have to wait till next month. I could choose day by day, how is this? And what I've learned, Josh, is that too many people feel stuck because they're over-obligated and under-committed. They've got way too many projects and they're not fully committed to any of them or enough of them. All of that should give you enough to understand how you can have a picture and stay clear of your vision. It's like that. It's never really important on how you're going to find the woman of your dreams. It's not important to figure out how all of that stuff's going to come about. What's important is that you never lose sight that that's your destination. That is where I am heading. I'm trusting every day, divinely guided. I am moving in that direction. It is an inevitable situation for me. This is happening. And do the best you can when you're making commitments, but recognize that not every one of them is a commitment that you would ever make again if given the opportunity. But never feel guilt or shame about it, but instead say, what can I learn about myself? How can I grow and evolve? How can I be more discerning in the future? It's never a right or wrong thing. It's just the thing that I did, and what are the results that I got, and are they aligned? I love the fact that you yourself said, is this aligned with my goals? Was that helpful for you?
Yeah, that was really powerful, Cliff. I appreciate you going so in depth on everything. And just as I'm listening to you talk, it's like it's reminding me of so many because I used to listen to you all the time, like when I was mowing. I remember, you know how you remember certain places when
Oh,
you
yeah.
listen to podcasts? Like there's certain neighbors' yards I used to mow. I can go to that spot and I can remember what you were talking about there, which is pretty cool. But just yeah, just as you're talking, yeah, just it's just reminding me of so much of the just information of value you kind of instilled in me in those years. And I'm also thinking about like how I've applied that in my life and like actually have implemented it and how much it's actually positively affected me. So it's really cool. Like it was always my dream to speak to you. So it's just like it's pretty cool that we're just chatting right now and then just like so many years later too.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been following you recently. Like probably since 2020 since I started working full time. But yeah, I'm still on your email list and then I'm always like it's fun checking in with people. So
Yeah. Well, I'm so
yeah.
glad you did today, Josh. Your story of how you were listening to me back when you were 15. Because what you're saying, by the way, the things that you're saying, I have my own version of that of, people like Dan Miller and Michael Hyatt and so many and Leo Laporte and mentors in my life. And so I have been in the seat where you are. So I'm totally resonating. And it's such an honor for me to be reminded of all of the fact that there are adults out there who are making a difference with their own businesses today, and they were listening to me when they were a teenager, and that's fun. So I appreciate you. I really appreciate you helping get this live stream started today by joining me on the Zoom call and stuff like that. And I just want to say this, Josh. The door is always open. If I could ever be of any support and or encouragement to you, please reach out to me. This is who I am. This is what I do in the world. I just show up and I want to be of support. I want to be of encouragement, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. Thank you, Cliff.
Absolutely. Hey, will you do me a favor?
Again,
shoot me an email after you get a chance, just so we can stay in contact.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
I'll do that.
All right. Many blessings.